Okay, so I wanted to make this video. I think there's a level where dishonesty stops annoying and starts entertaining. I wanted to show you just how brazen some people can be in their dishonesty, to a point where, I don't know, they must be entirely shameless. They know they're being dishonest. You know they're being dishonest. They know that you know they're being dishonest. But they're just not bothered. They're just going to carry on and manage their online spaces in a way that most of the people who look at their work will not be aware of their dishonesty. That's how much of a game. It's all about winning. That's what it's boiled down to them. I want to introduce you to somebody called HJ Hornbeck, if you've not heard of them before. And I think it would be fair to say that in recent times, HJ Hornbeck has effectively become Essence of Thought's henchman. I think it would be fair to say. A little bit of history on Hornbeck, because I've come across Hornbeck in the past. Hornbeck used to comment, a regular commenter over at Freethought Blogs. I know, we're going there, Freethought Blogs. To such an extent, he blew so much smoke up so many of the right arseholes on such a regular basis that eventually Hornbeck was given his own blog, and duly that's what I'm going to be centering around here. I have an array of pieces of paper on this top, ladies and gentlemen, so I apologise. I'll try and keep this as sort of on track as possible. So what happened here? I've not engaged with Hornbeck for some time. And then, in response to a video that I made a while ago, after, you remember, Rachel Oates had made that video where she was self-harming related to Essence of Thought, and Essence of Thought had responded to that. I made a video, Essence of Thought sinks to new low, Rachel Oates. So what kicks this exchange off is this comment that HJ Hornbeck left about a week ago now on that video. Let me read you the comment, then let me read you my initial somewhat naive response to Hornbeck. Hornbeck, I know I'm pretty late to this, but I've put together a timeline of the Rachel Oates stroke Essence of Thought event. While I do not hide my personal opinion, I've also made it easy to ignore and allow any reader follow up on their evidence themselves. By my count, I linked to 211 tweets spanning May to September 2019. I go out of my way to give both Rachel Oates and Essence of Thought ample time to reveal their points of view through their own words. Hopefully, it'll still be of some use. So I had a look at that and I thought, okay, and I had a quick, very, very quick scan through it. And I think one of the things that really caught my eye and perhaps lulled me into thinking this wasn't the HJ Hornbeck that I remembered was the opening paragraph. Let me read you a little bit. My own efforts, for instance, were at the end of the second half of a long blog post where I was pretty harsh on rationality rules. There's room for a more dispassionate summary of the full context of what happened, especially if allegations about this will be amplified by social media and echo for weeks, months, maybe years. I'm pretty firmly on EOT's side, but by minimising my commentary in favour of direct quotes, I can create a summary that Rachel Oates supporters will also find useful. The primary bias of this post will thus be via lies of omission, so I'll try to be as comprehensive as possible. Do you know what? I might pin that last sentence to the bottom of the screen here, because that is so important to what comes next. What an absolute lying twat Hornbeck is. I'll pin that. The primary bias of this post will thus be via lies of omission, so I will try and be as comprehensive as possible. I should have smelt a rat, really, to be fair. I should have realised that Hornbeck is too invested, too biased, too partisan in this to be able to carry off the trick that he's claimed to carry off here. I said that I called him Essence of Thought's henchman. That is because he seems more invested in this whole Essence of Thought rationality rules business than even Essence of Thought does. I went and had a look, in the end, this is sometime down the line, at his blog more generally. I looked at the first 3 pages, which took us back to about May, And Hornbeck has written 31 blog posts, not to engage with anybody. Don't think that you can comment or make some kind of a response or correct anything. You can't. It's just Hornbeck lecturing you, telling you how the world works. Just listen to Hornbeck's perspective, right, on it. And if there's anything wrong, well, tough, it's just going to remain wrong. 31 posts, 24 of them. 24 out of 31 are on the essence of thought, rationality rules. That is a bit of an obsession, I would think there. But listen to the titles. This is where the alarm bell should ring. Let me read you the titles of some of them. Rationality rules is a transphobe. Rationality rules is an oblivious transphobe. Rationality rules is a transphobic hack. Rationality rules is a lying transphobe. And we can get a bit of a theme going on here. Rationality rules is delusional. Rationality rules destroys women's sport. Rationality rules is an abusive transphobe. There has to be a rationality rules is a violent transphobe in the pipeline, folks, doesn't there? Please don't let me down on that one, Hornbeck, any more than you've let me down on everything else. But I hadn't seen that, and actually reading the first bit and just scanning up the page on this blog and seeing all the different tweets, I thought, actually, this is quite a worthy effort. So I responded. I have hearted your comment here as I think it is worth it for your attempt at thoroughness, and so it may be of some use. How wonderfully naive and measured of me, really. What a daft, naive twat I am, really, aren't I? I never learn, do I? I never learn. Although I did carry on in that comment to point out, well, here's something that I've noticed that you've missed that I think you ought to include. But then I had a look a little bit later and I found something even more important, which was missing, which was this white tears tweet. One of the foundational tweets, the most contentious tweets of the whole thing, mysteriously wasn't included. So this is what I said to Hornbeck. P.S. Something else you really have to include. I followed your entries on the 4th of September along with the times you give. They are shifted for me as my time zones are different, but I agree with the order. So for me, EOT's tweets are shortly after 9 a.m. and then Rachel's tweets around 1 p.m. Thread kicks off at 1:14 p.m. What I am frankly staggered at is that you fail to even mention the tweet by EOT at 2:36 p.m. So that's about an hour and 20 minutes later. Whereupon he links to an article that was a year old and shows the following quote. And this is the quote. How white women use strategic tears to silence women of colour, Ruby Hamad. The legitimate grievances of brown and black women are no match for the accusations of a white damsel in distress. End of quote. That tweet is pinned. And this very video, the video that Hornbeck had left the comment on, shows that it was pinned in a screen grab taken between 1 to 2 hours of Essence of Thought tweeting it, so no doubt immediately pinned. Even if you think this is just some incredible coincidence that he chose to tweet and pin about white women using tears of manipulation, I really cannot see how you can justify not including it in your chain of events. So that was part of the comment that I had left. I thought, Hornbeck, simply there's no way. This is perhaps one of the most contentious tweets of the entire business between Rationality Rules, Essence of Thought, the ACA, Rachel Oates, was this tweet. And fundamentally, not just the fact that he was accusing Rachel Oates of sort of damsel in distress, crocodile tears, but that it was done in the immediate aftermath of her posting a video where she is sat there not just crying, but she has cut herself. There is blood running down her arms. The timing was crucial. This was Hornbeck's response. Oh my God, Noel Plum, I cannot believe that I didn't include this tweet. Of course, I shall go and amend it straight away. Of course, I jest. That is not the response. This was the response. I wasn't aware of the pin, but I certainly read that tweet. In the end, I thought it would bias the post against Oates too much to include it. What? What? You've got to be kidding me. Do I have the letters C-U-N-T written across my forehead? I have engaged in a dozen discussions on that very tweet and seen a couple of dozen more. There are two camps. The camp that says that it was a disgusting, disturbed tweet to make at the time and it reflects badly on Essence of Thought, and the camp that says, well, it doesn't reflect badly on Essence of Thought because it wasn't anything to do with it, with Rachel Oates, or somebody had mentioned the Rachel Oates thing and he didn't know the gravity of the video that she'd made, and so he'd made the tweet. I've not heard a single person suggest that that tweet reflects badly on Rachel Oates. How could it reflect badly on Rachel Oates? And when you look at the list of blog titles that I read out, you hardly seem like the kind of individual that's that concerned with reflecting badly on your opponents. In fact, I would suggest that that is pretty much your modus operandi. He goes on to say, Essence of Thought has already expressed similar sentiments in their own words, and that's much less ambiguous. Here's what they say before Oates released the self-harm video, with bolding added by me here. I couldn't give a flying crap what Essence of Thought said before Rachel Oates released that video. The contentiousness of that tweet was that it was made an hour and 20 minutes after she had released that video. So this is what I responded to Hornbeck. I cut to the chase. Please include the white tears tweet. As a defender of Oates, I will take full responsibility if its inclusion reflects worse on Oates than it does on Essence of Thought. A clue, it doesn't. And you can point anyone at this comment or ask them to come and speak to me if they wish to know why you have included it. To date, that tweet has still not been included. The other tweets that I mentioned still have not been included. No amendments have been made to that blog post other than the amendments that are listed at the bottom, which Hornbeck made, according to Hornbeck, because Essence of Thought asked Hornbeck to make those amendments. Wow! I don't think it gets any more biased than that. But more amusingly still, and perhaps what led me ultimately to make this video, was that there was a second little conversation that went on. And it was Hornbeck's attempt at a little gotcha that I'm afraid has backfired very, very heavily on Hornbeck here. And I'll try and explain why. I made the following statement to him. He took offence at a turn of phrase which is never, to my experience, used in the context of literal physical violence. To which Hornbeck responds, Essence of Thought apparently has a very different experience. I would be negligent if I did not respect that. Now this is where this kicks off. Also, Essence of Thought prefers they, them pronouns. So this is an old bone of contention, but a spin on it. Many times I've been accused of calling Essence of Thought he or him, when Essence of Thought doesn't use the pronouns he or him. I'm not saying that very well, but that's not the case. If you look on his Twitter, if you look on his Facebook, if you look on his about profile on his YouTube channel, you will see that he accepts he, she, or they. You can pick any of them. And duly, I have always gone with he and him because, well, effectively, it's like if you had an old school friend that you called Ginger at school, right? And now they prefer Ginge. You might still call them Ginger if you met up with them 20 years later because that's how you've always known them. I've known Essence of Thought for many years on YouTube before he came out as trans, and I always knew him as he. That's how he kind of figures in my head. He still looks identical to how he looked then, albeit maybe another 4 or 5 inches on his hair. So for me, I still kind of view him in that context. That works for me. And I will continue to call him he and him up until the point where Essence of Thought says, actually, I don't want to be referred to that anymore. That is not a pronoun that I accept. He hasn't said that, so I'm going to keep referring to him as he. And this was the response that I left here in response to Hornbeck's comment. This is quite important, this. If he drops the he, then I will drop it too. As it stands, he accepts he, she, or they. I couldn't give a toss which he prefers, as I don't like him. That seems quite reasonable to me, quite honestly. I'm not going to treat you as well if you're somebody I can't stand as if you are one of my best mates. But this seems to fly over the head of Hornbeck in a bid to carry out this kind of gotcha on me, which, as you will see, spectacularly backfires. So what happens as a result of this is that Hornbeck then makes a little blog post, a new blog post, the newest of the 31, called A Revealing Experiment. Okay, let me read you the first bit of this. And I should just add that this blog is aimed at me. And this example that he gives, let me read you out. This is an analogy that he thinks analogizes the situation of me calling Essence of Thought he. So, let me just pretend then. So I'll sort of do a sort of Essence of Thought accent for the Essence of Thought bit. So me, hey, thanks for coming over, Essence of Thought. If you're thirsty, I've got your choice of Pepsi, A&W root beer, or Mountain Dew. And then Essence of Thought. I prefer Mountain Dew, but I'll take anything. Me, gotcha. I'll be right back. And then I come back with a Pepsi. Essence of Thought. Thanks. Too bad you ran out of Mountain Dew. Me. Oh, no. I've got tons. Essence of Thought. But it was too tough to reach, said Beverage. Right? Me. No. The Dew was right next to the Pepsi. So this is what Hornbeck says to this. Have I done anything wrong here? No, at least technically. You said you were fine with any soft drink and I gave you a soft drink. At the same time, though, you expressed a preference for Mountain Dew over the other choices. I could be forgiven for ignoring your preference if I wasn't able to fulfill it, or doing so would have been inconvenient for me. But in this fictional scenario, both of those are off the table. My choice to hand you a Pepsi instead of a Mountain Dew reveals something about me. Well, yes, it does in this instance. It reveals the fact that I don't like Essence of Thought, and it also reveals the fact that I've known Essence of Thought for fucking years, and he's always used to refer to himself as he, as far as I'm aware. So that's kind of how I know him, and there's no need to change because he's fine with he. But let me just rerun that analogy as to how it would actually work out. Me, Essence of Thought, what the fuck are you doing outside my front door? Get off my property now, or I'll call the police. Right, that's a more accurate analogy, but it's not a very helpful analogy, is it? So imagine that a meeting was set up between Essence of Thought and my good self, and when we arrived there, there's somebody, a sort of intermediary, and he said, right, this is how this goes. You've got to hold this discussion. However much contempt you've got for each other, you've got to hold a discussion. Right, Noel, you are duty bound because you've got 4 letters in your name to buy the first drink. Okay? Ask Essence of Thought what drink he wants. And I ask Essence of Thought, what drink do you want? And he says, I will have Pepsi, A&W root beer, or a Mountain Dew. But of all those 3, I would prefer a Mountain Dew. Right? I can guarantee you under those circumstances, he ain't going to get a fucking Mountain Dew. Right? And he isn't going to get a Mountain Dew because he's white, and I can't stand fucking white people. He isn't going to get a Mountain Dew because I don't like Essence of Thought. And he's given me the option to give him something that's going to piss him off a little bit. Why wouldn't I do that? right? Why wouldn't... I'm not going to buy him a coffee because that wasn't one of the choices he gave. But I'm not going to go out of my way to get him the Mountain Dew if he gives me the chance to buy him something that he wouldn't want so much. This is where Hornbeck's analogy falls down, is that it assumes that I'm some kind of better mate with essence of thought. He carries on a little bit here. He links this. Rob de Boer, I should say, it's a South African sort of name. Hey, EOT, I had a question not related to this video. What pronouns do you prefer? I couldn't find anything real quick, to which Essence of Thought responds, they. But I'm fine with both he and she and he as well. It's all on the channel description, Facebook page, about section. Right, so that's what Essence of Thought says. He is fine. He's fine with she and he. But this is how Hornbeck, you'd think that would stand in my favour. This is how Hornbeck dresses it up. By merely existing, Essence of Thought has set up a very similar situation. They have a pronoun preference, and when listing their pronoun choices, puts he last. But also say they aren't offended if you pick another reasonable one. The difficulty in typing 2 extra letters is practically zero. And they, as a singular pronoun, has been in the English language for 6 centuries, so there isn't any obstacle to its use beyond your hang-ups. I call other people they because they ask to be called they. Essence of Thought is fine with he. But let's take Hornbeck on board, shall we? For the first of my 2 reverse gotchas, shall we? What he says is that he is 2 less letters than they. And that's hardly enough, Noel Plum, for you to not go along with the preference of this person that you cannot abide. But how about this? I'm going to play you a clip now from one of Essence of Thought's recent videos.
There's a YouTuber out there, we'll call him Rotten Peach. I've had Rotten Peach blocked for years due to his dishonest approach to my content. Yet throughout all of this, he has been creating videos lying about both myself and the science to try and get at me.
Now, just in case there's anybody who's in any doubt here, when Essence of Thought is referring to Rotten Peach, he's referring to me. That is what he is calling me. Rotten Peach. Now I accept. Hornbeck does not have a list whereby I give my preferred proper noun on the internet. But I think it would be pretty safe to assume, given that Rotten Peach is a fucking insult, that Rotten Peach would not be my preferred noun, nor would it be on the list of nouns that I am fine with, because it is an insult. And not only that, I've run the numbers, folks, I've crunched the digits, and it appears that Rotten Peach has 3 more letters than Noel Plum. He isn't even saving himself a couple of letters, and yet seemingly this is something that Hornbeck has watched this video of Essence of Thoughts. I know because he mentions it in one of his blog pieces, but he doesn't feel the need to call this out, doesn't feel the need to make a blog piece berating Essence of Thought for not using my preferred proper noun. Amazing, that hypocrisy, isn't it? But that was a gotcha. But I'm going to go a little bit of a stage further here. Because if you look at all the blogs that Hornbeck does about this, throughout all of it, he refers to the person whose side he is on, whose back he has. Peter stroke Ethel, he refers to Peter stroke Ethel as Essence of Thought. So now let me read something out for you. And this is something, that I've come across Essence of Thought saying this in recent months 3 times. So this is not just a one-off. When I created the channel, Essence of Thought was an ideal I pursued. Just to comment on that, it's obviously an ideal he's abandoned somewhere along the way. But anyway, I digress. But then people began referring to me by said channel name, and for about 2 years I was fine with that. I was 17 to 18 at the time, so this was before he transitioned. Then when I wrapped up college, long before I'd met Oates, I reflected on it. I felt it best to correct people in that I am not Essence of Thought. I've never considered myself that and would like people to use my real name. The fact that some people ignore that, however, is not down to me. Some people, like HJ Hornbeck, like supposed Essence of Thought supporter and friend HJ Hornbeck. This isn't a gotcha, pal. This is a Knowles Golden gotcha. Here, you are using a term for him that is not his preferred proper noun. Is not even a proper noun that he is fine with. It is one that he has statedly made clear he is not fine with, that he would prefer that people did not use, and yet here you are, supposedly on his side, and despite the fact that Essence of Thought has more letters than Peter and Ethel stuck together, for crying out loud, you are still calling him, even after he's transitioned, calling him Essence of Thought. Let me read out what you said with regard to me. These people didn't settle on he by accident. Their choice reveals something about their internal opinion of transgender people, their peer group, or their ignorance. And it isn't very refreshing, well, can I say, in return. Using your own logic, Hornbeck, that's all I'm going to do. Just using the same reasoning, the same manipulative, biased reasoning that you've applied to me all the way through that blog post in an attempt to smear and misrepresent me, to put it back on you and apply it to what you've done here. Here is a trans person that was referred to as something prior to transitioning, but doesn't use that name anymore, doesn't go by that name anymore, has gone on the record multiple times saying they don't want to be referred to that name anymore, and you are referring to them again and again and again by that name. That is dead naming Hornbeck. Never mind it not appearing very refreshing, it suggests to me that if you could get away with it, you would go around dead naming trans people, and I think that is absolutely disgusting. Okay, as for everybody else, Hornbeck says this piece can be judged on its lies of omission. That's fine, and you can only judge the piece, but once it's been pointed out to Hornbeck, as it has been, then it reflects on Hornbeck as well. The fact that Hornbeck is not prepared to correct those lies of omission when it is pointed out shows that perhaps Hornbeck should be judged on those lies of omission, should be judged as the liar that I've not long known Hornbeck as. Freethought Blogs, Hornbeck, you're in the right place, my friend. You are in the right place. There is something particularly devious and dishonest. I don't mind your usual devious, dishonest rhetoric. That's fine because it doesn't portray itself as something else. But when you create a post and try and say, oh, this is me being more dispassionate, this is me being exhaustive and thorough, even if there's a little bit of my rhetoric there, you can read beyond that. I'm leaving nothing out. It's unexpurgated. It's all there for both sides to use. Anybody can use this. It's an exhaustive list. You absolute lying, devious, manipulative shit is what you are. This is the kind of people you have to deal with online. They're really not interested in anything other than some kind of win for their side at any cost, and they will stop at nothing. And Hornbeck is the perfect shining example of that kind of a person. Just be careful. If in a month's time or a couple of months' time all this comes up and somebody refers you to this document, remember, Freethought Blogs, HJ Hornbeck, exhaustive list is just a tissue of fucking lies. It's an exercise in higher level manipulation and deceit, and don't buy into it, okay? It is not what it claims to be. Okay. That's it. I'll leave it at that. I hope you got something out of that. I've not told you anything you didn't know, which is that there's some devious, hypocritical, nasty people out there. But I hope you have a nice Christmas. If I don't get a chance to make a video before the new year, I hope you have a happy new year as well. If you've enjoyed this video, like it. If you enjoy all of my material, you can sponsor it via Patreon, PayPal recurring payments, or Subscribestar. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.